part of the COVID crisis, we are starting a little bit now to relax and to look at sustainability priorities again, so to restart the program. And that's the reason why we wanted to have this first webinar on sustainability4Cargo. First, meaning that that's not going to be the only one. We are planning to have several of them throughout the year, and I will touch base on that later on. I'm going to switch off my camera, and because I think the more important part is to really focus on the content. Just give me 1 sec here. And move straight to the topic of today's discussion, which is, can we still afford to care about sustainability? And that's that can be seen as a bit controversial in terms of question. It's not really controversial. It's a real question that people are really asking them. There are clear appetite for sustainability and for doing the right things and doing the good things, but there are also lots of struggles nowadays, and that's I think very relevant to ask the question, can we still afford to care about sustainability? Before we talk about sustainability and this question about still caring, I'd like to first define the we, and that's coming from one of my former boss, who very often explained me that we can be everyone, and that's really making the discussion very unclear. So let's start defining who we is. We, the global air cargo community, and just preparing the webinar, I saw people who registered are not all from the air cargo community, so that's important that I'm just introducing it to you guys. I saw the participants' profile are either airlines background with heavy touch on sustainability and environmental matters, pure air cargo background, or sometimes also pure sustainability background with not so much background on air cargo or aviation and logistics. So we, the global air cargo community, so as an industry, and we also each company in this global air cargo community. And as you can see, it's a very diverse and broad industry with multiple stakeholders. That's one of the reasons why it's sometimes difficult to change and to transform. But it's also one of the reasons why it makes this industry very attractive when you are part of it. So the we is all the various parts of the industry and the role they can play to make air cargo sustainable or more sustainable. Because very often when we say air cargo, many people would tend to think about airlines at the center. And would direct the questions on airlines matters, while for the overall strategy and action plan that is touching the air cargo industry, we really need to look at the entire community. And the we is also TIACA, as the International Air Cargo Association, and the other industry associations and organizations. As I just showed before, the industry is very diverse with multiple stakeholders, and it's also very diverse in those stakeholders that are represented by their specific associations. We have the big ones, IATA representing the airlines, FIATA representing the freight forwarders, ACI representing the airports, ICAO on the civil aviation authority side as a UN body. And then we have many other associations and organizations, either representing like verticals, just like pharma.io, or regional players like Air Forwarder Association in the US. It can be also all those private public initiatives that are trying to really drive the progress and the improvement in all areas of sustainability, and we will define that later on. So for instance, Smart Freight Center, Solar Impulse Foundation, ATAG, which is the Air Transport Action Group. There are many players that are working for air cargo directly or indirectly, and that care or shall care about making air cargo more sustainable. So now that we know who we is, let's define sustainability. And when we talk about sustainability, and if we were using a color, it would be green. It would be even super green. It's a very important part of sustainability, the environmental matters. But it's not being super green that matters, it's being green, and I would say real green. And if you can see the difference on the screen, the very, very green, super green grass is maybe not as sustainable as the one besides. And it does matter how we consider environment and how far we are ready to like green things. It's not about greenwashing, but sustainability. It's a lot about environment, but not only. It's a lot about many other activities. All those colors are the 17 colors from the Sustainable Development Goals defined by the UN, and it really shows the complexity and the broad definition of sustainability, which is not just about environment. So I think we, yeah, Kenneth.
Thank you, Celine. Yes, very interesting, and we appreciate that. I want to go ahead and share the results for our first poll. Okay, yeah. Which of the following best describes your company's definition of sustainability? Seems like pretty much the overall response is the first three: environmental stewardship, economic prosperity, and social responsibility. We just got 2% saying that sustainability is not a priority, but I mean, the way things are going, I'm sure that that's bound to change.
That's very interesting. So first, it shows that the audience is already advanced in sustainability matters, which is good. So I will go a bit quicker on the next slides. It shows also that social responsibility gets more attraction, probably because of the current context. So that's an interesting element to have in mind. So yes, sustainability, the definition. So if you open the dictionary, it's the quality of being able to continue over a period of time. So there is this dimension of really time. The sustainable development has been defined as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This is from Our Common Future, which is a publication that was released already almost 25 years ago. So not new. But the main message of that is it's today, but not at the expense of tomorrow, which is an important element to answer the question on can we still afford to care about sustainability, because today we are struggling for today. So it might impact the way companies and industries are looking at sustainability nowadays. Sustainability, as most of you said, it's not just about environment, it's not just about social responsibility, it's really holistic approach. It's the combination of those three dimensions, the people, the planet, and the prosperity, recognizing that everything must be considered together to have something that is sustainable, so on the long term. Sustainability has been really the foundation for the agenda, the 2030 agenda set by the United Nations for Sustainable Development. So they defined 17 SDGs, so Sustainable Development Goals, that I'm going to show you in a minute.
Before that, Celine, let me go ahead and interrupt you there. I'd like to share our second poll with the crowd. Give me one moment. There we go. So basically, is sustainability a priority in your company? Let's take a few moments to get these answers in. The quicker you answer, the faster the question will be taken off your screen.
That's a very important question because there are so many people saying that yes, it's important to them, but they don't feel there are concrete actions, and it's a lot based on talks and maybe not concrete actions. So that's the objective of this question is really to understand for your respective companies if this is a priority. Okay, moving on to the Sustainable Development Goals, and I'm quite familiar with them because sustainability is something that has been really high on my agenda, both on personal and also on professional levels at the past few years. But when you are maybe very deep into your own business and you are not really looking at sustainability in your day-to-day activities, this is maybe new to you. So this 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development has been set up and has been published 5 years ago. It was back in 2015, and it has a 15-year timeline and targets with 17 goals, and I think it was 169, but I'm not 100% sure of that figure. 169 specific targets to achieve by 2030 for a better tomorrow, to transform the world. That was the tagline 5 years ago. And there are many industries and companies that are using that as really a framework to set up their own strategy for sustainable development. And you'll see, and we'll discuss that specifically for air cargo, it drives two types of conversation. How you can contribute to making the world more sustainable, and how you can be yourself as a company or even as an individual, how you can be yourself more sustainable. not all of those 17 goals are obviously relevant or have the same level of relevance for air cargo, and that's an exercise that we need to do. We need to perform as an air cargo industry, is really to look at each and every goal and see how we can contribute and how we impact this specific goal negatively or positively, and then act on that. Something that has started and has been done already is more for the transport itself. So sustainable transport, the UN looked at that. And Ban Ki-moon declared also that transport is really a key driver to sustainable development. It's not an end in itself, but really a means to allowing people to access what they need. They need jobs, markets and goods, social interaction, education, and lots of other services. And in the context of COVID, where everything is just disrupted and transport is and has been, we can see what was missing to our lives and our supply chains. So I think it's very valid to really look at transport as a key contributor to sustainable development. They describe in this publication how sustainable transport supports inclusive growth, job creation, poverty reduction, access to markets, empowerment of women, and also the well-being of persons with disabilities and any other vulnerable groups. So this is really a key contributor to the 2030 agenda for sustainable development. And air cargo is part of it, and air cargo is itself a key contributor to sustainable development. And what is interesting here is to understand, when we ask, can we still afford to care about sustainability? It's to consider the two angles of the question. So, are we talking here about sustainability for air cargo, or are we talking here about air cargo for sustainability? So we have those two sides of the coin, not opposite, of course, but really, really two ways to see things. And this first one does impact also TIACA's activities and TIACA's role in terms of the ability to educate, communicate, advocate on the role air cargo is playing as a key contributor to sustainable development. Very often, and in the past and today as well, what we as an industry, we always refer to the fact that air cargo is a key enabler to trade, to world trade. I think we need to continue with this message. It's true that air cargo does provide 35% of global trade in value, while only less than 1% in volume, but up to 35% in value. It does support healthcare logistics, so it does contribute to save lives. So there are many great components, and it was really visible. Again, it is very visible now with the COVID crisis. But maybe it's time to also look at that with the angle of sustainable development. So to shift also perceptions that from some people, from public and the decisions makers at governments, etc. So the ones that will impact our industry with regulations, they need really to understand how air cargo is contributing not only to global trade and to the job creations and local economies, but really to sustainable development in the long term. So we have some work to do in doing some impact analysis on which of the 17 sustainable development goals are relevant to air cargo, where air cargo can and is doing and making a positive impact, and also recognize where air cargo is really having negative impact, and especially on the environmental part, which is also why sustainability, when we start discussing about sustainability, very often we focus on environment. It's because it's where we recognize that they are the most negative impacts, and we need to act on that and accelerate the progress to minimize those negative impacts. Ultimately, we need to ensure that air cargo is a sustainable freight transport option and remains a sustainable freight transport option in the years to come.
Thank you, Celine. I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to share the results of our second poll question.
Okay.
So yeah.
So
we see it is a key priority supported by the CEO with a strategy team, budget, and targets. That sounds a lot better than what we were expecting.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. I think it's probably an improvement compared to a few years ago, because it was to my knowledge, sustainability was more like in the official documentation and in the official targets of companies, but with not really proper budgets and teams and plans and targets allocated to that. So that's pretty good news. Great, thank you, Kenneth.
No problem.
So that's really helping to discuss this second side of the coin. Here it's what does it mean, sustainable air cargo? So how we can define sustainable air cargo, and I'm trying. So I've put one. Maybe making air cargo sustainable is making air cargo safe, efficient, agile, profitable, through digital and sustainable transformation. So it's always tricky to define something and put the same word in the definition, but so it requires some discussions and fine-tuning, and I'm really open to your feedback and ideas for that. But ultimately, what it means, sustainability for air cargo, it's looking at how you can change your priorities as a company and embed sustainability goals in your business framework. And using the 17 SDG might help, but it's also using your common sense. It's using the feedback from your employees. It's using the feedback from your customers. It's really listening to what's happening, what's coming, also in terms of regulations, public perceptions. What are your partners caring about? So many things that would feed your commercial strategy, your financial strategy should also come and feed your sustainable strategy. And ultimately, there should not be a sustainable strategy. There should be just a strategy with embedded sustainability goals. Sustainability also in the context of COVID has evolved quite a bit. So what is interesting is within TIACA we launched this sustainability working group, and we were ready in March to launch an industry survey about sustainability. And the goal of this survey was to have a baseline and to have questions to the air cargo industry at large on whether or not sustainability is important for their company. Is it supported by their CEO? Do they have budget? What are their key focus areas? Do they set targets? So many questions on that. And the idea was to set a baseline and then to be able to monitor progress year on year, because we would do this sustainability survey on an annual basis. So that was the plan in March. And then the COVID crisis accelerated the lockdown for almost all countries. We were planning to launch that during the World Cargo Symposium, so it was postponed. We put that on hold, and frankly, even if the survey is ready now, it doesn't make a lot of sense to just send it right now, as we drafted a few months before, because there are so many things that have changed in perception, in reality. So we need to revisit this, and that's the plan. And the plan is to have this survey launch probably around September. But first, to really review our questionnaire with the COVID context in mind. And this COVID context in mind, for me, it's so I put all those elements on this slide. It's very diverse. The air cargo has been seen and has been not just seen the savior of aviation. Thanks to air cargo, airlines they continue to fly and to generate some revenues, same as airports and ground handlers. So air cargo is now seen more and not hidden anymore, I would say. So let's see if it lasts long after the crisis. Another thing that was quite important and quite visible is the frontline workers as really essential workers, the supply chain heroes. We talked a lot at the very beginning of the crisis. We talked a lot about the healthcare heroes. And then we realized that in many industries, in retail, in logistics, there are the frontline workers that were really essential. And I think it's a new dimension to consider. It's not new, but it's a new light that we need to keep in mind for the strategies, the long-term strategies of air cargo, recognizing those frontline workers. I've heard also that if processes were fully digital, there would have been less struggles and disruptions during the crisis. There was really a lack of data sharing, transparency, especially on the routes, the capacity, etc. And it did complexify the operations. And it's another call for acceleration of digitalization of air cargo. There was also new consideration. Obviously, it's very very important now when we talk about the restart of absolutely every industry. It's all the elements around health and safety, and they will have to be considered, and they are influencing strategic decisions. There will be also more pressure from the public, from consumers, and from regulators. There was already quite a lot on aviation, on logistics, very much focused on environmental footprint, and this is not going to stop. The opposite, really, especially when governments are helping industries. There is really an expectation from the citizens that the support, the financial support, is not given for free, and that you need to prove you deserve it, and you need to prove you will be a better corporate citizen in the future. Something we need to also consider that will hit us is the other pandemics. The plastic pandemic is a reality because of the health issues. You know, all the policies around banning single-use plastic are relaxed. Or we even do the opposite. So we have a serious issue, and we will have to face a serious consequences of this crisis also on waste, but also on what it means. This crisis drives unemployment and drives poverty, which will have also an impact on not just air travel, but really logistics in general, because it will have an impact on consumer consumptions, world trade, etc. So that's dimensions that will need to be considered in future strategies for air cargo and future sustainable strategies for air cargo. Other lessons are that we can adapt, we can change, and we can do it fast. And we saw that with home working policies, and we have all been quite quick to adapt and embrace technological solutions that can just help us to do things differently. And there is also one key message, and this is really linked to this question around, can we still afford to care? When we define sustainability as this is about today, but not at the expense of tomorrow, for the moment, we need also to just consider that many industries and many companies have to focus on today, because they are fighting for their survival. So the tomorrow is sometimes not on their radar.
That makes perfect sense, Celine. And let me ask you something. Well, why do we, as TIACA, care about sustainability?
That's a good question, Kenneth. Well, when Stephen and Sanjeev last year around summer, so around the same time, they took the role of chair and vice chair of TIACA's board. They decided that they really want to put sustainability as well as diversity and inclusion on top of their priorities for TIACA. So you can see that as a necessity, or something that was important for two leaders, but also a call from the membership of TIACA to do things differently and to get ready for the future. So that was how we started working together with TIACA on sustainability. And it was actually the beginning of the overall TIACA's transformation. The idea of saying that today, and it was yesterday, so yesterday before the crisis, yesterday we knew there was new trends, new urgencies, new expectations from the industry, from the members of TIACA, from their partners, from their customers, that TIACA needed to embrace and address and also support. That's how the whole sustainability program started. And we, as an association, we also took that opportunity to redefine the vision for the industry that TIACA represents. And TIACA's vision for air cargo is a safe, profitable, and united air cargo industry that embraces modern technologies and practices to sustainability and fairly serve trade and social development worldwide. So that's actually a brand new vision statement that has been endorsed last week by TIACA's board. This is really embedding sustainability principles, and it's pushing for unity. It's pushing for digital processes, for efficiency. It's really recognizing how building the future is important, and this is part of TIACA's DNA. And as part of the redefinition of TIACA's vision, we also looked at TIACA's mission, and that's why TIACA cares about sustainability. TIACA's mission is to set the vision for the air cargo industry. It's the unique organization, International Air Cargo Association, that is able to unite the industry with one voice on common interests. The mission of TIACA is to support and to lead the necessary change within the air cargo industry, to disseminate and enhance knowledge amongst members and the air cargo industry. So based on what I was saying before, communicate the value of air cargo and as a contributor to sustainable development is part of TIACA's mission. And it's also to promote and encourage business, social, and technological innovation. And it's something that TIACA has started doing already last year, and repeating it this year through the Sustainability Awards that we are launching with our strategic partner, CHEMP.
And we look forward to launching that second Sustainability Award, Celine. And now that you've mentioned all this, I'm going to go ahead and take advantage and launch our third poll. And that is, can we still afford to care about sustainability?
Yeah, so that's the question of the webinar. So we'll see at the end. I'm going just to while you are answering, explain why we care. Why does TIACA care about sustainability? And the reasons are that we know some things and we want to act on that. We know air cargo is a key contributor to sustainable development, and we want to help spread the message based on facts, based on case studies. We know cargo is a great contributor to aviation, and air is a great contributor to logistics. And we want to help raise the profile of air cargo for the benefits of the workers, and also to ensure cargo is given the attention it deserves. We know air cargo industry has been slow to transform, and we want to support the efforts to accelerate progress, especially in digital transformation. We know that air cargo has a negative impact on the environment, and we want to contribute to minimizing negative environmental impact through partnership and advocacy. We know that new regulations are and will be imposed on our industry, and we want to influence smart regulation and support the industry to comply. We know that many great initiatives already exist, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So we want to promote them and to amplify their impact. We know also this is urgent, and we want to unite the industry towards achieving ambitious goals. And we know that today's challenges are also bringing new opportunities. So what we want is to define how the good next days should look and make it happen. So that's a call to embark on a new journey to define the sustainable recovery and the next normal. So we had the old normal, and we don't really know what the new normal is, but we think that we have to define it. So let's call it the next normal. Recognizing also that first, companies have to survive and restart. Sustainability and big investments are probably not the primary focus today, but we have the opportunity to embed that after individual companies have survived and restarted their operation. It will be really the opportunity to rethink, to reimagine what we think the air cargo industry should look like. To redefine the physical cargo journey, the business interactions, the industry collaboration, the value we have, or the recognizing the essential workers of air cargo. Accelerate the digital transformation, because this is really a key enabler for the future profitability of the industry. So that's a call to join TIACA and the other players to redefine this sustainable recovery and the next normal for air cargo. I'd like to just end up, I really loved it in this McKinsey report last month, or it was a newsletter, right? Even an uncertain future can, with effort, be a better one. And I thought that one was quite a positive message. So I'm happy to share it with you guys. And I'd like to invite you to join the conversation through the next Sustainability4Cargo webinars. We will plan the dates, so starting in September, probably September, October, and December. Maybe we have a monthly frequency. And those are the topics that we have in mind to cover, and we'd like to invite partners and members to contribute to the content and present their own ideas. I'm taking also that opportunity to thank the strategic partners that are helping TIACA to finance this activity, and that's quite important nowadays. So we need more. We need more people also to fuel the discussion with ideas, but also to fuel the program with finance. And last thing on my side, it's a call for applications for the second Air Cargo Sustainability Awards For this year, we will have 2 awards, one in the corporate category and one for startups. The competition is open until the 15th of September. The objective is to have the finalist and the winner announced at the Air Cargo Forum in Miami in November, if it's happening. We are really in a highly uncertain world, so we never know. But in case this is not happening physically in Miami, it will happen digitally somewhere else. We will make it happen. So don't hesitate to apply if you have a sustainable initiative that you would like to promote.
Thank you, Celine. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share the results of our third poll. Can we still afford to care about sustainability? And good. I'm glad to see that.
Oh, yeah, good.
Very good. These guys are very positive.
Excellent. Great.
Let me go ahead here. Perfect. And now we can hit our Q&A. Let's see. Our first question comes from, give me one moment, comes from Stephane No. Wants to know, 2020 is considered as a baseline year for the ICAO Corsa program. Yep. Will this baseline be extended to 2021? And how can we take benefit on the cargo side? For example, pushing modern cargo fleet.
Pushing what?
The example is pushing modern cargo fleet.
I'm not sure 1 year will make a big difference in fleet renewal, but that's the starting point anyway for CORSIA. I have to admit I don't have the answer. I don't have the dates in mind for CORSIA timelines, and if they have been reviewed. So
okay, it's something we can reference and maybe reach back out.
Yeah, absolutely.
To him or her. Our next question comes from a good friend, Scott Case. What are the tools that exist for small and medium-sized forwarders to participate in these programs so as they have the opportunity to bid on business with larger companies who have written and enforceable ESG policies that they do not miss out?
That's a good question. So there are many aspects to that question. Freight forwarders can join the discussion within FIATA, and I know FIATA is also in the process of modernizing and transforming, and they have appointed somebody in charge of training and sustainability. So that's a good point of reference as well. Within TIACA to contribute also to the sustainability program and the agenda, specifically on how to get business or awarded business based on whether or not you are embedding sustainability goals within your business framework. I know there are many companies that are really embedding that in their procurement process. So even if it's not the first area of focus in the procurement process, because obviously the first elements will be service, will be price, will be timelines, etc. considerations. But the sustainability consideration, the environmental impacts, the investments in the future, in green programs, also showing concrete progress, reporting on concrete actions and progress is getting more and more important for the partners. And this is not just valid for freight forwarders, it's valid for absolutely every part of the chain that has partners. We can really see this trend of having procurement processes being or evolving with sustainability considerations.
Great answer. Great answer. Our third question, pardon, is how do you think to contribute minimizing environmental impact through partnership and advocacy? Who will the partners be? What will they do? What type of advocacy?
So there are. I was when I was preparing for this webinar, I had tons of ideas and content, which is also why we are planning to have different sessions. One is on decarbonizing air cargo. And the goal is not to reinvent the wheel. It's not to start from scratch and ignore what is being done today. So the idea is to really look at what is being done today, by whom, and does it reach out the air cargo community? Are the air cargo community, the air cargo players, and all the ones that I showed in one of the first slides, aware that there are programs, concrete initiatives to reduce the fossil fuel use in air cargo, to move to solar panel for airports and cargo facilities, so lots of different programs, and I'm not going to list all of them, but there are so many. There is on airline side, on aviation community side, commitments that were made back in 2008, so not new. It's not blah blah. It's really concrete targets to reduce CO2 emissions from aviation, with a set of KPIs that are being set and an action plan to meet them. And very often this is very well known by the airlines and the airports, but not so well known by the freight forwarders and the shippers, for instance. So what we believe TIACA can do here is to look at what exists and be the vehicle to communicate that and to promote those initiatives towards the air cargo industry, as well as to be the voice of air cargo players and feed that to those initiatives, so that they also take into account the cargo specificities when they design their own projects. So that's how I refer to a partnership and also advocacy. So really the whole work around explaining what is being done, encouraging people to join the relevant initiatives. It can be at global level, it can be also at regional or local levels, especially when we talk about, for instance, sustainable alternative fuel. There are many local initiatives. So we can be that platform within TIACA. We can be that platform that will help the air cargo community to know where to look at and where to put their efforts and to join the relevant initiatives.
Very good answer. Very good answer, Celine. Our next one. What are some of the most impactful and innovative sustainability initiatives that you have seen in the industry?
What is the most sustainable?
What are some of the most impactful and innovative sustainability initiatives that you've seen so far in the industry? Is there anything that comes to mind that catches your eye, something that you know what, that was really good, or something that could get the ball rolling?
I would say there are many. I was blown away 2 years ago, or was it last year? Last year and 2 years ago. The past few years, the innovations in the ULD area to make ULDs lighter, but to make ULDs also like going flat and use alternative sustainable material to replace wood, for instance. All the work on trying to get rid of this single-use plastic to cover the cargo. So all the innovations in the ULD area were, for me, really super concrete, very tangible in terms of results. And it's also like having for me the snowball effect. One company being innovative means that the others are also willing to be as well. And it was nice. So before I was before my time with Change Horizon and TIACA, I was with IATA. And the last innovation award I've organized for IATA was the 3 finalists were in the ULD category. It showed how this group of companies are competing to be the best and the most innovative company, doing really good for the industry, for the planet, and for the finance as well. So that's one example.
Very nice, very nice. Also, we have another question. Is intermodal transport in the roadmap of TIACA? Is there a number about air cargo sustainability comparing with ship or rail track? And honestly, I think when it comes to the actual roadmap of TIACA, TIACA has been very inclusive. We do specialize and represent air cargo. That is our forte, if you will. But we also know that before it can hit the air, it has to go through rail, through ship, through ocean, and after it lands, it does the same. So it's important that we're all inclusive when it comes to cargo, not just air cargo. But Celine, do we have something to say in regards to air cargo sustainability comparing with ship or rail track, for example? Are you familiar with anything in that aspect?
Yeah, I'm quite familiar with the topic. I would love saying that TIACA has a roadmap including intermodal activities, etc. But no, frankly, TIACA is the International Air Cargo Association, and we focus on air. Having said that, there are 2 elements that are important to keep in mind. Is, as you just said, Kenneth, many of our members, the shippers, the freight forwarders, they are multimodal. So multimodality is important by essence for that. But all those ones that are multimodal, they also have associations that are looking at true multimodality, and let's say European Shippers Council, FIATA for the freight forwarders, etc. And that's where I think, you know, the key is to not reinvent the wheel, duplicate the effort, but to focus on where we can make an impact, where our strengths are. And our strengths in TIACA are not on multimodal, but our strengths are on partnership. And we have very, very powerful partners that address multimodal issues, and that will be extremely important to have that conversation with them, so that we have something that makes sense ultimately, especially for the shippers and the freight forwarders that need to have something that is that makes sense and harmonized between the modes of transport.
Thank you, Celine. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and pick 2 more questions just because we're running short on time. Yep. We have one here that says, can you better highlight the return on investment of any sustainability investment? Can you highlight the ROI of any sustainability investment? And they seem to be talking about how a green deal and green credits are nowadays influencing and driving investment in any company.
So the short answer is no. I can't in few seconds highlights return on investment on sustainability programs. It varies from one program to another and from one company to another, and depending on the context. The politically correct answer would be look at your long-term survival. So let's put aside the short-term survival due to the current crisis, but the long-term survival is at risk if you are not really looking seriously at sustainability embedded in your strategy. So I would turn it like that, but that's not enough to answer properly. It would have to be case by case.
Yeah, it's a pretty complex question, but thank you for trying anyway. The last question that we have for today is, what is the current carbon footprint of air cargo? How do you measure improvements in reducing air cargo's carbon footprint? I guess it's a group of questions from the same person. How do we make him? Yeah, let's just start with that. What is the current carbon footprint of air cargo, and how can we measure improvements in reducing the carbon footprint in our industry?
Okay, so this one, the carbon footprint of air cargo. Again, in my past, I used to work heavily on that. Together with a group of airlines and also a group of freight forwarders, we defined the air cargo carbon footprint methodology, which is now an IATA standard. And we had endless discussions around how to measure the carbon footprint of air cargo. Even if we have a standard in place, that still is quite difficult. And I would like to refer to the first economics webinar we had 2 weeks ago with Neil van der Voe from Clive, when he was presenting on the new way, the dynamic load factor, the new way to calculate the load factors for air cargo. And it has an impact on how we measure the carbon footprint of air cargo as well. So again, it's not really an easy answer to give you. It's probably one topic for a full webinar, even more. Happy to put that on an agenda for our next one.
Absolutely. No, these attendees they came prepared. Let me ask you, part of the same question is, how do we make any improvements visible to public and politicians? So how do we make any carbon footprint improvements visible to the public and politicians? That's
extremely important indeed. And that's something that the air cargo industry has not been good at providing the past years. So interestingly, there is a lot of measurement and reporting activity done by other modes of transport and less by air cargo. So it means that it gives a wrong perception to shippers and to freight forwarders that air cargo is not doing anything to improve its carbon footprint. Which is not true, because there are many initiatives and very strong targets in aviation to reduce the carbon footprint of aviation. And when you reduce the carbon footprint of aviation, basically you reduce also the carbon footprint of air cargo. That's not something that is specific to passenger or and would exclude cargo. So that's overall. But it's not known because we have not been good at showing, so measuring, reporting, communicating on that. In public data available on load factors, on fuel consumptions, etc., we are still lacking accurate set of data, updated set of data. It means that when shippers and freight forwarders, they want to try to calculate that, either they get something directly from their airlines, or they try to guess and to use public data available, and this is not going to give a good picture. So definitely that's an important element that needs to be considered by the air cargo industry. The issue we have faced, let's be completely open with that, is that there was a lot of requests on measurement and reporting, while so many of the airlines and airports were super involved in reducing the carbon footprint at aviation level. So they were not really looking at, you know, how to measure and to prove the cargo part is doing something. They were really looking at the overall environmental action plan. So that's where we are not synchronized, I would say, with the expectation from shippers and freight forwarders in that area.
Perfect. And I am going to finish off this question, which is, air cargo is one component of the supply chain. Do you include the other components, ground handling, trucking, warehousing, last mile delivery? I'm not sure if this is in regards to the sustainability awards that's coming up, but if it were to be, I would say that anything that has to do with air cargo, whether it's the ground handling, the airport side, the airline side, the shipper side, anything that has to do with sustainability will be looked at on our end. Would that be correct?
It's absolutely correct, Kenneth. And if it refers to the scope of the sustainability program of TIACA, it's also obviously not only focused on airlines and airports. If it refers to awards, the same. TIACA is once again, it's uniquely positioned to represent the entire air cargo community. So it means the full spectrum of companies that are part of the community: shippers, freight forwarders, cargo terminal operators, manufacturers, cool chain players, airlines, airports, you name it. So this one of the first slides that I showed, it's really the overall scope of TIACA and TIACA's activities.
That's a perfect. And honestly, in my own personal experiences in Budapest, we saw some very good examples of that. None of them were airlines or airports. Really, we had a packaging company that made a biodegradable product that had pretty much no carbon footprint. We had a drone company that facilitated relief efforts to areas where planes or any type of other rail or cars cannot venture into, whether it's the jungle or the mountains. They have a small drone that would drop it, and the products would end up there safely. And it just really opens up the spectrum to so many things. And I appreciate everything that you've informed us today, Celine. Thank you so much for all of this.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and have a great end of the day. And as Kenneth said at the very beginning, there is a short survey. It's really less than 1 minute. It's just to understand whether or not you learn something and you are satisfied or not with this webinar, and it will really help us to design the next ones. So having said that, I wish you a good summer break, and talk to you soon, and see you maybe all in Miami if we can.
Absolutely, Celine. Absolutely. We look forward to seeing you all in Miami, or just seeing your questions or any notes or any comments you may have about this webinar or any webinars to come. Please feel free to email me at kgibson@tiaca.org. Any questions for Celine, I'll be sure to get them over to her. Once again, thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you once again. Take care.
Thank you.